Hello, welcome back to my channel. Tonight, I'm going to be reading some scary stories. I figured it's perfect for October. If you're like me and you love all things spooky, being scared, this is perfect. So sit back, get comfortable, get in your bed, lay on your couch, whatever it is that you do. Put your headset on, close your eyes, and just listen to some stories. First one's called The Big Toe. A boy was digging at the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something. So he gave it a good hard jerk, and off it came off in his hand. Then he heard something groan and scamper away. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "Ooh, it looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll put it in the soup and we'll have it for supper." That night, his father carved the toe into 3 pieces, and they each had a piece. Then they did the dishes, and when it got dark, they went to bed. The boy fell asleep almost at once. In the middle of the night, a sound awakened him. It was something out in the street. It was a voice, and it was calling to him. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. The boy heard that, and he got very scared, and he thought, "It doesn't know where I am, and it will never find me." Then he heard the voice once more, only it was closer. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. The boy pulled the blankets over his head and closed his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought, "and when I wake up, it will be gone." But soon he heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. Then the boy heard the footsteps move through the kitchen, into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. Then slowly they began to climb the stairs. Closer and closer they came. Soon they were in the hallway. Now they were outside his door. "Where's my toe?" the voice groaned. He opened the door. Shaking with fear, he listened as the footsteps moved towards the dark, towards his bed. Then they stopped. "Where is my toe?" "You've got it." I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to flip through and find another one. Do you guys remember these? Here's one. This is supposed to be a song. I'm not the best singer. "Don't you ever laugh as our horse goes by, for you may be the next to die. They wrap you up in big white sheets, from your head down to your feet. They put you in a big blank box, and cover you with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week, and then your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, the worms play piccolo on your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose, they eat the jelly between your toes. A big green worm with wormly eyes crawls in your stomach and out your eyes. Your stomach turns a slimy green, and pus pours out like whipping cream. And then you spread it on the bread, and that's when you know you are dead." Now, if you guys ever read these books, The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, they were one of my favorites. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. This is like the urban legends. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. This one. It's called The Hook. Donald and Sarah went to the movies. Then they went for a ride in Donald's car. And they parked up on a hill at the edge of town. From there they could see lights up and down the valley. Donald turned on the radio and found some music. But another announcer broke in with a news bulletin. A murderer had escaped from the state prison, and he was armed with a knife and headed down south on foot. His left hand was missing. In place, he always wore a hook. "Let's roll the windows up and lock the door," said Sarah. "That's a good idea," said Ronald. "The prison isn't too far away. Maybe we should really go home." "Oh, but it's only 10 o'clock, said Donald. "I don't care what time it is," she said. "I want to go home." "Look, Sarah," said Donald. "He's not going to climb all the way up there. Why would he do that? Even if he did, all the doors are locked and he couldn't get in." "Donald, he could take that hook and break through the window and open the door," she said. "I'm scared and I just want to go home." Donald was annoyed. "Girls are always afraid of something," he said. And he started the car. Sarah thought she heard something scratching at her door. "Did you hear that?" she asked as they rode away. "It sounded like someone was trying to get in." "Oh, sure," said Donald. Soon they got to her house. "Would you like to come in and have some cocoa?" she said. "No, I gotta get home." He went to the other side of the door to let her out, and hanging in the door was a hook. Hook. Did you guys ever see that old 90s movie, The Urban Legends? That's what that reminds me of. And they're parked out in the woods. And he comes, and it's the old urban legend, and they can hear something outside. And then he hangs them from the tree. Did you guys ever watch that old 90s movie? It's actually really good. I love old urban legends. Here's another one. This one probably everyone knows. I think there's been a movie, urban legend. The old 90s urban legends did this. But they've done it in other things too. I actually think if you watch American Horror Stories, I think they did a run, the last one, their actual American Horror Stories. The second one, they did something similar to this one. It's called The High Beams. The girl driving the old blue sedan was a senior in high school. She lived on a farm about 8 miles away and used a car to drive back and forth. She had driven into town that night to see a basketball game. Now she was on her way home. As she pulled away from the school, she noticed a red pickup truck following her out into the parking lot. A few minutes later, the truck was behind her. "I guess we're going the same direction," she thought. She began to watch the truck in the mirror. When she changed her speed, the driver of the truck changed his speed. When she passed the car, so did he. Then he turned on his high beams, flooding her car with lights. He left them on for almost a minute. "He probably wants to pass me," she thought. Now she was becoming uneasy. Usually she drove home on the back road. Not too many people went that way, but when she turned on that road, so did the truck. "I've got to get away from him," she thought, and she began to drive even faster. Then he turned his high beams on again. After a minute, he turned them off. Then he turned them on again, and off again, and on, and off, and on, and off. She drove even faster, but the truck driver stayed right behind her. Then he turned his high beams on again. Once more, the car was ablaze with light. What is he doing? She wondered. What does he want? Then he turned them off again. A minute later, he turned them back on, and he left them on. At last, she pulled into her driveway, and the truck pulled up right behind her. She jumped out of the car and ran to the house. "Call the police," she screamed at her father. Out in the driveway, she could see the driver of the truck. He had a gun in his hand. When the police arrived, they started to arrest him, but he pointed at the girl's car. "You don't want me, you want him." Crouched behind the driver's seat was a man with a knife. As the driver soon explained, the man had slipped into the girl's car before she left the school. He saw it happen, and there was no way he could stop it. But he thought about getting the police, but he was too afraid to leave her, so he just followed the car. Each time the man in the back seat reached over to overpower her, the man in the truck turned on his high beams. Then the man dropped back down, afraid someone might see him. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever hear that old urban legend? That's one of my favorites. They say, before you get in your car, look in your back seat. Right? Did you ever hear that? Look in your back seat. Make sure nobody's in there. My mother used to tell me that when I was in high school. Right? When I was going out with friends, she'd say, make sure you're looking in the back seat. Make sure you're looking in the back seat. Okay, I have one last one. This is another urban legend. I'm sure you've heard this one before too. They've done movies on it. They've done TV shows have done stuff like this. I actually think there is a movie. I can't think of the name, but there's a movie. Okay, and this one's called The Babysitter. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Everybody was sitting on the couch in front of the TV. There were Richard, Brian, Jenny, and Doreen, the babysitter. And the phone rang. "Maybe it's your mother," Doreen said. She picked up the phone. Before she could say a word, a man laughed hysterically and hung up. "Who was it?" Richard asked. "Some nut," Doreen said. "What did I miss?" At 9:30, the telephone rang again. Doreen answered. It was the man who had called before. "I'll be there soon," he said. And he laughed and he hung up. "Who is it?" the children asked. "Some crazy person," she said. About 10 o'clock, the phone rang again. Jenny got to it first. "Hello," she said. It was the same man. "1 more hour." He laughed and he hung up. "He said 1 more hour. What does that mean?" she asked. "Don't worry. It's somebody fooling around," Doreen said. "I'm scared," said Jenny. About 10:30, the phone rang again. When Doreen picked up, the man said, "Pretty soon." And now he'll laugh. "Why are you doing this?" Doreen asked. And he hung up. "Was it that guy again?" Brian asked. "Yes," Doreen said. "I'm going to call the operator and complain." The operator told her to call back if it happened again, and they would trace the call. At 11 o'clock, the phone rang again. Doreen answered it. Very soon, the man said. He laughed and he hung up. Doreen called the operator. Almost at once, she called back. "The person is calling from a telephone upstairs. You better leave and I'm going to call the police." Just then, the upstairs door opened. The man they had never seen before started to run down the stairs towards them, and they ran from the house. He was smiling in a strange way. A few minutes later, the police arrested him. You guys remember that one? Like I said, there's movies, TV shows have done renditions about that. Some old scary stories.